Hello everyone, Sable here with our other match of week 6. So we've got Phil versus Wanted. Very little preamble needed. Let's just hop into it. We've got another Buzz lead, pretty common this tour versus a Ninetales. Definitely Ninetales favored. Electabuzz just has crappy stats, unfortunately, so Ninetales can 3-hit KO it pretty safely and tanks those Thunderbolts very easily despite them being stab. Buzz now in range of Fire Blast or Hyper Beam, and there's the Hyper Beam. So Tails winning the lead, but pretty weakened, so a lot of things threaten it. You can definitely pivot because this is only EQ range and gets the pivot correct. I would pivot again. I would probably go to Lapras here. Yep, there it is. Because you expect Kang Blizzard in this meta. There's so much Dragonite, and Kang really needs Blizzard to hit it for as much damage as it wants. And Phil also going to Lapras, expecting the Blizzard, which is probably the right click into Kang, because Kang has a lot of potential to stay in and just attack Lapras and go for crits. And Wanted saying, I don't want to mess around with losing the Sleep War, and sacking Ninetales for position is probably correct here. You get Hypno in and you're ahead. You get another sleeper, like, I don't know, a Victory Bell in and you're ahead, but it's just going to be Hypno. And free Hypnosis click on the Lapras that doesn't want to risk getting put to sleep, and Raichu down. And now you probably get a free T-Wave too, or a double. And I think Wanted has really been favoring switching out after getting the sleep and not going for T-Waves, and just making sure you don't have to switch into Hypnosis. So like Body Slam means that you're already getting damage on Hypno immediately, you're being a lot more proactive with it. And Phil gonna pivot on the next Body Slam, which obviously doesn't do very much to Kang, and threaten to Blizz again. But this time Wanted gonna stay in and just tank that Body Slam, not gonna mess around with Lapras potentially coming into a Body Slam. Gonna do it this turn though, because I think like there's enough incentive to keep the Dragonite as sleep fodder. And after the para on the Kang, it's a lot less threatening. Gets another Blizzard on Hypno, and now you just go right back to Dragonite. If you dodge the Hypnosis, great. If not, it's still not that horrible, but still missing another Hypnosis, and now she's gonna have to switch out again. And this Kang getting chipped down, the Lapras getting chipped down, and Wanted continuing to preserve that Dragonite to ensure that there's a sleep sack. Lapras getting pretty lucky to dodge those paras and also getting a crit. To be fair, Blizzard had about a over 50% roll to kill the Kang anyway, and there was para odds, but the crit just seals the deal. And now gonna stay in on the Lapras because you don't want to mess around with switching Dragonite hard into it and just losing the Dragonite. I might pivot Dragonite here, or Raichu also makes sense. Yeah, if you have a Raichu, you go Raichu. Now Raichu very threatening. Lapras, I think you don't have much recourse but click Sing and hope you get lucky, or click Blizzard and hope you get lucky. Yeah, I think I probably would have clicked Sing there. I don't think you can do too much to win this game from here without some kind of chance to set up. Kuno can definitely do it, but like you would have rather sat up on a sleeping Raichu, right? So Kuno gonna go for it all, but you need a lot here. So Lapras obviously getting sacked, you just double edge this, why would you ever risk it, right? And now Hypno's gonna come in, and with one drop, this game would pretty much be over. So definitely scary, but you have to kind of go for it in Phil's shoes. No such luck there. No drop though is big. As long as this Kuno doesn't get dropped, it can win the game. No drop. There's still a chance. That's good. That's really good for Phil. So chance here, but there's still a whole last Pokemon unrevealed, and Raichu does not actually tank this, so that's desperation. And Kuno does tank that. So if this is happening, the last has to be like a Dodrio or a Dugtrio or something that gets one-shotted by Kuno. Persian. Okay, I feel like okay, I get it. You needed damage from if the Kuno didn't paralyze there, then it would have taken out the Raichu and it still would have survived a Persian attack. But now it doesn't survive a Persian attack. So now I think it actually goes back Wanted's way until that happens. So I don't want to say that it was 100% in Wanted's favor there. There was freeze odds, there was crit odds, of course, but also Dragonite's at 51. Hypno would have had to come in and take out the Persian and take all that damage and would have been too low to stop Dragonite, but Raichu could easily wake and win. So I would say it was probably Wanted favored after that earlier Kuno para, But like it took multiple Articuno paras to even get here for wanted. So I would say it was Phil favored throughout the end game and just wanted got just enough luck to put the game in range, but not enough luck to seal it out. And Phil gets the Kuno sweep. But Wanted's team looking pretty weak to Kuno overall, I would say. Raichu, Persian, Dragonite, all notoriously not the best Kuno answers. Raichu just doesn't have the damage. So Phil turning it around after some poor early luck. Nice game. Phil's team, double electric plus flyer. I feel like we've kind of seen that a lot from Phil during this tournament is double elect plus flyer. So definitely being a little greedy with the electrics. I feel like a lot of Phil's teams have a Doug Trio problem, and I'm kind of surprised Wanted didn't have a Doug Trio, but let's see how game 2 goes and if maybe there's some team adjustments. Another Buzz lead, yet again, into a Clef. So Wanted continuing to just bring leads that destroy Electabuzz and getting the matchups every time because Phil seems to like to lead Electabuzz quite a lot. I think Phil just likes to know early if there's going to be a Dugtrio or Golem to deal with, so it's a workable lead if you're willing to deal with that. And okay, so that evening up after the para, so Clef para'd, but Crit Body Slam evens it up, and then getting the KO. So the lead overall going a bit in Wanted's favor compared to the expected results, but not by much. And Wanted going right to Hypno, just trusting as long as there's not a freeze that Hypno has the sleep advantage here. And this time Phil choosing to sack and just try for the Hypnosis miss. And this time trying to stay in and call it the Thunder Wave, burn some turns, probably switch soon, but no, calls another one. Phil really willing to just keep going for this, and I think probably going to go for it again. Oh, okay, that's actually unfortunate. You don't want to wake. You want to burn turns so you can wake up later. And now this is bad. I think if Phil had gone out on the third turn, it would have been really ideal. Okay, well, another chance. And a Hypno miss, and I wonder what Phil's going to click. Just another Blizzard, takes the damage. That was a really high roll, so now Hypno actually is like 50-50 to get taken out by this Lapras. But gets the Hypnosis, 3 for 4 on Hypnosis hits, which is pretty good. And with the drop, I do wonder if Phil's just going to choose to sack this and go for pressure. Nope, goes to Hypno and does not get T-Wave this time. But the problem is Hypno can't KO this Hypno, so you're still going to get T-Wave back. And that's a bit unlucky, but I mean, you only have a 30% chance to win tie and also hit Hypnosis. But like Phil just losing all of the sleep pressure for nothing here. I think you had to just hard switch to something like a Dragonite or a Dodrio or a Kang or whatever on this Hypno and take it out that way. And that way you could have preserved your Hypno to have sleep pressure later, especially against Wanted's Lapras. But now you've just lost a whole Lapras and Hypno for just a Hypno, and this game looks very hard to win. Dragonite coming in, not likely to be many answers to that on Phil's end. Kang being the best answer is acceptable but not ideal because now you have to make some callouts, and getting it wrong, 2% on Lapras, pretty unideal. Pretty helpful, but still not in Hyper Beam range, so Kang gonna need more than that. Okay, so you get a whole Lapras for a Kang, essentially, but you're behind on Switch advantage, and you're down on Mon, so I don't think that's a good enough trade here. So now I think what you need is Dragonite to win tie, high roll the Dragonite, and hope that there's not better answers to it. No Hyper Beam here, so Dragonite gonna get T-Waved, and that's looking really unlikely for Phil to have a way to win this. Because like now Dragonite can come in and Blizzard you, sacking Lapras. Understandable, but I don't think the last is going to deal with a 100% HP Dragonite unless Phil is hiding a Lastmon Tentacruel or something, which naturally is not the case, and this one's going to go Wanted's way almost certainly, barring some big confuse right hacks, but doesn't happen. And now most last should be able to clean up from here, preserving this Dragonite to ensure that it has Blizzard against the opposing Dragonite, so Raichu comes in to just force some damage. And there's a burn. I probably T-Bolt here. Ultimately, it's not like the burn chip is really going to matter, but I just had a feeling there, like, and ultimately, there's not really much to be gained by taking out the Lapras if Surf even takes it out, which it probably wouldn't. Or take out the Ninetales, sorry. There is the Hyper Beam. I think that would have been just short on Clefable, so unfortunate. So now you just gotta dodge a Blizzard. Going to Ninetales doesn't work, you just have to dodge Blizzard. There's no other play here, because Ninetales is into KO range anyway. So there goes Tails, and we're right back to dodge a Blizzard and pray. But even then, there's still a whole other Mon in back, so I don't really think this was ever gonna go Phil's way, and so it's 1-1 back to even. Wanted's team, you've got the Flyer, you've got the Electric, you've got the Blob in the lead, and the last was probably either some offensive Mon like Dodrio or some kind of glue like Kangaskhan. Phil again with Electric and Flyer, but no double Electric this time. It's 2 ground weaks and a couple things that patch up the ground weakness. I feel like we're definitely seeing teams standardize a bit more as this tournament goes on, but I'm not sure I love how they're standardizing. I think we probably are all just missing something that would make our games easier. But game 3 it is. Clef, Buzz. So now the matchups are reversed. For once, Phil not bringing the Buzz lead and getting crit immediately. That's tough. So this Clef might actually lose the Buzz, a pretty unlikely outcome. I think you should probably slam it first in a lot of cases, unless you're really just worried about not having the speed control to take it down. But I would body slam and be a little greedy. But Wanted gets 2 crits, so that wouldn't have paid off very well. Here comes Kang. Kinda has to Hyper Beam because I don't think Earthquake's even guaranteed there, but just Earthquakes anyway. It might, I think it was a good roll for Earthquake, but not guaranteed. But now Hypno going to take Para on entry to Dragonite. I think you should just stay with the Kang and Force. I think that doing this with Hypno is really bad, honestly. It's like now, if you take even decent chip on Hypno, where are you ever getting sleep? And goes for Seismic Toss. That's interesting. Psychic is just more damage. And back to Kang, realizing that he's got to preserve her, that she's got to preserve the health. Phil's name confuses the hell out of me, just because I know Phil uses she, they, and then I see the name Phil and go, huh. Anyway, I'm sure that happens to lots of people. In this case, getting bailed out by a full para and getting Lapras in on Blizzard, and now just going to go for T-Bolt. I wonder if Wanted's clicking Sing. No, they're both just trading evenly. And now Raichu on the next T-Bolt, I assume. Yep. So Raichu gets in for free. Phil's gonna have to go to Buzz to catch that T-Bolt. And now I probably pivot to Hypno on the T-Wave, but just gonna give that up, and now Lapras looking more and more threatening as more things take para. I think I would have pivoted, but here we are. Ooh, I've been recording all day, so I'm getting a little exhausted, but here we are. Slam, Hyper Beam, they're just trading HP, and I think Wanted is advantaged here with the Lapras versus all these paralyzed things. So Persian comes in, and now it's looking even more tough for Belle. I think that she's got to go Kang here. And that it is. I would click counter if you have it. I really hope there's a counter, or this game is going to be very quickly going the wrong way. So now Hyper Beam 50-50 and goes to Lapras on that, which I'm not sure I love. I probably would have gone to Dragonite. But Lapras now in range of Hyper Beam, so another 50-50, and this time calls it with the Dragonite, catches it correctly, and now surely just going to T-Wave this and put it in Lapras range, and Lapras becoming a bigger and bigger threat by the minute from all these paras. But right back to Lapras. Trusting that there's not going to be a Paraslam, but there is. So I don't know. Wanted has to be setting up for some last Pokemon here. I really wonder what that is. I guess not. I guess just trusting in no Paraslam and going for the damage, but I think you should have just committed with Dragonite. I guess the reason to keep that is that there's no sleep on Wanted's side yet, and Hypno or Lapras hitting sleep could be catastrophic. But this is not looking very good for Wanted. I do wonder what the last is and if it'll be able to clean up here. I wonder what Hypno's going to click, but I guess we're not going to find out, and that's going to make this game look a lot more Wanted favored. I think even one hit on Persian would have gone a lot more Phil's way. But now Lapras should lose this 1v1. Low roll slash shouldn't matter. and as long as this isn't a freeze, then Persian will kill this. And unless the last is a Doug Trio and the last for Wanted is a Doug Weak Pokemon, which I doubt on a double Elect Dragonite team, I'm pretty sure it's just a Hypno. So, okay, so Phil wins the tie, so there's odds, but Hypno is probably going to beat this Persian one-on-one. I do wonder if this is going to be a Hypnosis or just T-Wave Psychic Psychic. I don't even think Psychic Psychic is guaranteed to 2-hit KO. Okay, yeah, it wasn't even at all going to 2-hit KO. It would have done 42 to 49, but crit drop means this is just done. I think if I'm Phil there after that T-Wave, I think you have to click a Body Slam or Hyper Beam, whichever one of the two that you have. Well, I guess not. I guess if you don't get crit or dropped, then I mean you always click Body Slam if you have it 100% of the time on turn 1 for the best odds, because slam slash slash or crit slam and a slash can win the game. There's no Body Slam on this Persian, and you can't really predict that you're going to get crit dropped. So I don't know. I think Hyper Beam versus Slash is like a 50-50, but Body Slam always if you have it. But Phil gets unlucky and loses this one, so another one goes for Wanted. Congrats, Wanted. Hard to say much about that. The games this tour have been a little messy. As far as teams, Phil with triple normal, no flyers, two, but like you've got two blobs that kind of pads out your weaknesses a bit because they're not really weak to anything. Wanted side double elect plus flyer, and then a Persian to round it out with some fast offense. So not too much to say on the teams. A lot of these games have been going fast, so I'm kind of glad to have one that goes to game 3 for once, but still getting the short end of the stick at the end and losing this one. So not much else to say. Like, comment, subscribe, I guess, if you enjoy giving me dopamine. And that's the end of week 6. So as I record this, it's the middle of week 7 in which I am not playing. I think there's 3 RBY matches this week, but I don't remember off the top of my head. So I will be recording those when I get the chance, but by the time you actually see this one, I think there's like 8 or 9 sets by this point. So you'll probably see this during semifinals week. Anyway, see you when I've got more sets to cover or I finish one of my other projects. Bye for now.